Quint's podcast.
This is episode 10 of Vishnu Ki Secret Life. On this episode, we talk about nutrition. I'll be answering one of the most searched questions on the internet when it comes to health and fitness.
What diet should I follow?
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 What diet should you follow? Hi, you're listening to Vishnu Ki Secret Life, the show where you learn something new about nutrition, fitness, life, or lifestyle choices, usually through my own, sometimes questionable decisions. I'm your host, Vishnu Gopinath. After the 15 minutes or so that will come after this, you'll know everything you wanted to know about these three popular diets. What are their pros? What are their cons? And do they have any unknown side effects? I've personally tried all of these diets for quite a period of time. So I'll tell you when you should follow each diet, what exactly you need to do to follow the diets correctly, what you can expect and what you can't expect. And the most important thing, how can you stay committed to these diets and stick with them to see verifiable, quantifiable results. This is everything you've ever wanted to know about dieting. So, quickly, what diets will I be going over on this podcast? Well, there's the one that's become super popular in the past few years, keto or the ketogenic diet. Then, second, we have the slightly less popular but equally talked about low-carb diet. And finally, third, we have Paleo, which is probably the least known in India at this point. Now, let's begin.
Keto has brought in a lot of positivity in me. When I started keto, I was in a dilemma, but it was a huge step to take. But I jumped in. Once I'm in, it's one of the most effortless way of, keeping your metabolism in a very active state.
The ketogenic diet, or keto, is an almost zero-carb diet that focuses on high protein and high fat food. In simple terms, when you're on a ketogenic diet, you eat almost no carbohydrates. You get most of your daily calories from food that's high in fat and high in protein, but very low on the carbohydrates. For most people, this means a diet that's rich in food like chicken, eggs, meat, cheese, paneer, and some leafy green vegetables. A keto diet also means saying no to rice, grains, cereal, sugar, milk, some forms of milk, fruits, and starchy vegetables like potatoes and corn. So that means some of you will be saying bye-bye to some of your favorite food and saying hello to a diet that will make you feel full very often, but in a weird way you'll also crave sweet things, rice and deep fried stuff. But that's only in the first few days or weeks, and that only happens if you don't eat enough or if you don't eat properly. Quick side note, in case you didn't know why this is called a keto or a ketogenic diet, it's because it puts your body in a state of ketosis. Ketosis is the state where after your body runs out of sugar to burn, it burns its own stored fat for energy. Usually this isn't a state that most people get into, but it was created as a survival mechanism for our bodies to preserve themselves in ancient times, when humans didn't exactly have fixed meal patterns and takeout and other ways to get food whenever they wanted. If they ran out of energy when they were hungry, that would mean that they would starve and die. So your body turns on ketosis, where it resorts to its own fat stores for energy, and it gives you that additional boost of energy you need to keep functioning and keep hunting, which is what our ancestors used to do. So if you've just started keto, in the initial first few days or first few weeks, you may be feeling a little bit low or tired or low on energy. Why? Because it takes some time for your body to switch on ketosis and start burning fat for energy. But once your body adapts and gets used to burning fat for energy, it's smooth sailing from there on out.
It's one of the most effortless way of, keeping your metabolism in a very active state. And I feel I'm always awake and, energetic.
So I've tried a keto diet for a few years now, And I keep trying it and I keep failing for two very simple reasons. First, a keto diet is really restrictive. You can't eat 85% of the food which is commercially available, and the 15% that you can eat is food that's really expensive. I'd end up eating just meat for a few days with very little carbohydrates. Even my vegetable intake was really low. So, that was mostly because I didn't like vegetables, but even my vegetable intake was really low. So, that would mean I'll be relying only on meat and eggs to fill my stomach. And say what you want about nutrition, but protein, especially chicken or most other sources of protein, is really expensive. On top of this, like I said earlier, just focused on eating meat because I liked meat. I didn't really eat enough green vegetables or any vegetables, to be honest, which meant I would spend a lot and many times I would still end up feeling a little bit hungry. Plus, I would order takeout or eat out most of the time. This meant that I was paying a lot for my meals, and that's not very sensible if you make as little money as I do. Remember, veggies are very much an option. Don't be stupid. Don't be me. And the second thing is that even if I ate healthy the whole day, on quite a few days I'd given to my cravings for something sweet or something fried or deep fried and eat something that's extremely unhealthy much later at night. Like chocolates, biscuits, chips, random munchies, whatever, it doesn't matter. I ended up eating a lot of that stuff later in the night when I would be hungry. And this hunger usually happens because I didn't eat enough protein during the day. Remember, when you haven't had enough protein, your body starts craving anything that it can eat, any quick source of energy, which is usually sugar. And the second thing to keep in mind is that sugar will satisfy your cravings, but protein will satisfy your hunger. I didn't cook too often either, so that also meant that I wouldn't have food to eat randomly, like something to munch on, something healthy, if I was hungry. So don't be me. Don't make the same mistakes that I did. What you can learn from my experience is that a keto diet is the most restrictive out of these three diets. It lets you eat very little carbohydrates. And if you want to talk specific numbers, it usually tells you that you should eat under 15 grams of carbohydrates in a whole day. And it also tells you to eat more high fat and moderate to high protein, which is not too difficult. But keeping your carbs under 15 grams a day is quite difficult because many times carbohydrates sneak themselves in to your foods. You can lose a lot of weight by doing a keto diet, but you'll have to plan your meals in advance, start cooking and preparing your meals for the next few days, ensure that you don't go over your daily allowed intake of carbohydrates, and invest quite a bit of money on your nutrition. But as they say, abs aren't made in the gym, they're made in the kitchen. A keto diet takes the most discipline to stick to. So it's for you if you can be completely committed to it. And you make sure you do it properly. Don't eat too little food, don't go cheap on your food. Spend time and money and invest in your health. You'll definitely see the rewards, you'll definitely see the results if you do keto properly. Stick to it, and you'll see the weight literally falling off of you in weeks.
It was a huge step to take, but I jumped in. Once I'm in, it's one of the most effortless way of keeping your metabolism in a very active state, and it helps me a lot. It gives a lot of energy, and I feel I'm always awake and energetic.
Keto is a very strict but very effective place to start if you're extremely obese or if you've lost a lot of weight already but you want to blitz through the last of your weight loss. Just remember, ketosis is good, but it's not too good to stay in a state of ketosis for more than a few days, say up to a week. This is where I used to have a lot of fun with my eating and my diet. Eat clean 6 days a week, eat dirty 1 day a week. This meant eating little to no carbohydrates for 6 days of the week, and 1 day of the week, usually Sunday or Saturday, which is the case nowadays, I'd eat whatever I wanted all day. If you're doing keto for the first time, keep an eye on your health. Some people have told me that they experience something like constipation on keto, others say they have experienced diarrhea. If you feel sick or unwell when you're doing this, or when you're doing any diet or trying anything new, go see a doctor. The other problem with the keto diet is that all said and done, it's still just a diet, which means if you stop it and you aren't following a strict diet and fitness routine to maintain your health, you will gain back a lot of the weight you lost. So now, given all these things, keto isn't my personal pick for the best diet out of these three.
What? How dare you?
It's great for weight loss for people who are really committed to losing weight or for people looking to shred that last bit of fat. But if you're really obese and just starting out, I wouldn't recommend it because it's not sustainable for long periods. And more often than not, what happens is people started, they tried for a bit, then they realize, oh no, it's too difficult to stick to, and they give up, which is not what your aim should be. Your aim should be to stick with something that's easy to do, easy to maintain, and something you can sustain for a long period of time. I wouldn't suggest it, especially if you're coming from a lifestyle of eating junk food regularly. For a sustainable diet that's not too difficult to stick with, keep listening and I'll get to it soon enough. But with that said, the advantages of keto are that if you make it past the first few weeks of struggling, and if you're still sticking to it, then the sailing is smooth. But again, personally, given all the other potential downsides, it's not my personal pick. I like something that lets you be free and loose, fast and easy, something fun, something that'll allow the sort of effortless weight loss that I've been telling you about. So now let's get to our next diet. The low carb diet.
Because of low carbs, now I've lost close to 30 kgs, and I've been working out and following this diet for 1 year roughly.
A low carb diet is a slightly simpler, tweaked version of a high protein diet. It allows a moderate to low amount of carbohydrates in your diet, a high protein intake, and moderate to low fat.
I've tried keto diet as well, ketogenic, but low carb, you need to have a little bit of carbs. At least that's what I've noticed in my case.
There are two major differences between low carb and keto. The first difference is that low carb is easier to maintain and it's less restrictive. You can eat more carbohydrates like white rice or brown rice, some starchy vegetables like potatoes, and it's a little easier to stick to both psychologically and nutritionally. But your weight loss also is usually slower on low carb than keto. On keto, you'll be having almost no carbohydrates, and this is a little bit tough to stick to. The second difference is that when you're on keto, you get your energy from fat. When you're on low carb, you get your energy from a combination of carbohydrates and fat. When you're eating low carb, your body burns a combination of carbohydrates, aka sugar, along with fat. To dip into the ketogenic fat burning state when you're eating a low carb diet, you need to restrict carbohydrates even more strictly, or you need to work out intensely. A low carb diet works best in three scenarios. The first, you've lost a lot of fat by eating healthy and working out, and now you want to stay in a state of maintenance, which is you don't want to lose any more weight and you don't want to lose any muscle either. This is the ideal situation for a low carb diet. In fact, if you tweak the nutrients you're getting in your diet at this point, you can do a lot of fun things like gaining muscle, lose fat, get more stamina, and basically you get the idea. You can do a lot of things.
To be very honest, between keto and carbs, keto has given me better results. But I just lost for energy throughout the day because exercise and work. So I prefer to do low carb. So it's a slower result, but it keeps me active for work and workout throughout the day.
The second scenario. If you're an endurance athlete or you work out a lot or you lift very heavy, you should have slightly more carbohydrates because carbohydrates give you glucose, which is stored as glycogen. Glycogen is the stuff that fills up your muscles and gives you the energy you need to sustain workouts, to lift heavy, run hard, climb high. And if you're low on glycogen, you won't be able to continue your workout. You won't be able to keep your energy levels going throughout. The third scenario. If a ketogenic diet is too tough for you or if it's too restrictive, you can opt for a low carb diet. This is only effective for weight loss if you stick to the diet plan you're following very, very rigorously. But there's a small problem here. I'll try to explain it to you through my own experiment with low carbohydrate diets. Low carb allows for a little bit of rice and other simple carbohydrates. But with a low carb diet, the problem is it's possible that you let yourself trip up or cheat on your diet more often. If there are certain foods that you know are trigger foods, like foods that lead to you just binging on everything that you can, it's easier to just avoid these foods. And the problem with the low carb diet is that many times they do allow for some of these foods. So you need to be careful. I'm saying this because I tried low carb for a long time before switching to another diet, which was ultimately the one that worked for me. That's the next diet I'm going to tell you about, Paleo. But I'll get to that in a minute. Before I do, I just wanted to give you the potential downsides of low carb. It involves a little bit of rigorous planning and calorie counting. So plan your diet out, stick to your plan. Second, it involves moderation, not extremes of abstinence like keto or even paleo. And there's an old saying that goes, moderation is easy to implement, but hard to maintain. Abstinence is hard to implement, but easy to maintain. So you need to take your pick. Do you want to practice moderation or do you want to practice complete abstinence from carbohydrates? Finally, since you'll have to plan, you'll also have to either cook a lot of your own food, that is, meal preparations, or you'll have to end up spending an enormous amount of money on ordering in all the time. Now, with low carb and keto out of the way, let's talk about my all time favorite diet slash lifestyle, paleo. Paleo is eating like a Paleolithic man or a caveman did. How do we know what caveman ate? If I know, but the diet takes a healthy dose of presumption and focuses on eating clean, naturally available foods that don't require too much processing. In simple language, you can eat meat, vegetables, fruits, and nuts. Great, right? What can't you eat? Well, no grains. That includes rice, atta, maida, and corn. No legumes. This one's tough because it means no rajma, chole, and most other beans that need to be fermented or soaked in water before you eat them. Next, no dairy. Say goodbye to milk and cheese because you can't have much dairy in a paleo diet. No cereal. This one is really tough because I know personally most people who try to lose weight replace their breakfast with some kind of cereal like muesli or cornflakes or something. But a paleo diet doesn't allow any cereal, which means no muesli, no cornflakes, or any other crap that makes your morning comfortable. Finally, no artificial sugars. But you can eat as much meat, eggs, vegetables, no potatoes and corn as you want. Some fruits and some nuts, which is quite a good deal if you ask me. So my average day would be like this. Wake up, have bacon and eggs for breakfast, chicken or eggs and raita for lunch, and finally a lot of chicken or some other meat for dinner. 6 days a week I would do this. One day of the week is your cheat day, so go nuts on your cheat day and eat whatever the hell you want. In my opinion, paleo is the best and most effective way to just shred the fat. For me at least, it was how I lost nearly a third of my body fat, approximately 40 kilograms, over a span of 2 years. It works on the same principle as most diets, that is, you lose weight because of eating fewer calories, but it feels different because, well, at least for me, I would just focus on eating whatever I wanted, how much ever I wanted, till I was feeling full, and then I'd stop eating when I was full. It's a really simple principle, but it's really effective because you're eating such nutritionally dense food, which means you become full faster and you stop craving things. Also, on the topic of working out, I used to work out a little bit when I was doing paleo, like I would swim maybe once or twice a week, but even that was super effective. And the best part of all this was I never had to count calories or think 3 4 times about what I was eating. I just ate when I was hungry and I restricted cheat meals to 1 day per week. Paleo, like unlike keto, allows you to have some carbohydrates, but it's different from low carb because paleo's biggest emphasis is on naturally available food. The simplest way to differentiate low carb and paleo is that paleo allows vegetables and most natural carbs that don't require processing or refining, which means grains aren't allowed. Low carb allows grains like rice and atta in some cases, and it's less focused on the food being from natural sources and more focused on the macronutrients the food has.
Who doesn't like carbs? So I'm really happy I can incorporate a little bit of carbs into my diet.
A simple way to know if the food you're eating is low carb or paleo is that if it comes in a package, it's probably not paleo. Also, read ingredient labels. If it's got more than 5 ingredients, it's usually not paleo. In my opinion, paleo gets the best of both worlds. It gives you the fat burning effects from keto, and it also lets you have some carbohydrates like low carb. Apart from this, my overall mood and my energy levels on paleo were unbelievable. I mean, I'm sure the other two diets are great, and a lot of you listening will stand by them and defend them, but for me personally, paleo worked the best. In fact, if anything, that should be your biggest takeaway from this episode of Vishnu Ki Secret Life. Try everything out for a few weeks, see what works, and stick with that. Because a diet isn't a pair of socks. It's not a one size fits all thing, it's like a fine tailored suit. What fits and looks good on you won't fit someone else and won't look good on someone else. To be honest, paleo is closer to keto than low carb, but it's easier to stick to than keto, and it's also more fun because you don't have to kill yourself thinking about what to eat, how many calories, how many grams of carbs it has, whether you're over your limit, or all these other things that really just weigh you down. If you're anything like me, you'll want a diet that allows you to lose weight without any effort, while thinking as little as possible about your diet. This is because staying healthy and being fit shouldn't be difficult. They should be easy and effortless. So, try these 3 diets out if you want to. That said, here's my usual disclaimer. Before you experiment on yourself, make sure you've spoken to a nutritionist and your doctor, especially if you suffer from any health conditions. If you suffer from diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, liver or kidney disease, arthritis, gout, a history of any or more of these issues, and basically, long story short, talk to your doctor if you have pre-existing health conditions. Because I am no doctor. Understood? So, while you'll most likely be losing weight on all 3 of these diets, keep an eye on your health apart from just how much weight you're losing. Because if any of your health indicators, like your blood sugar, your cholesterol, or any other stuff, changes drastically in an unhealthy way, it could be a sign of trouble. If you have any other doubts, I am available on email or Twitter. You can mail your feedback to podcasts@thequint.com, or you can tweet out to me at Vishnu Says What on Twitter. I'll leave the links to both of those in the show notes as well. That's all we have for you on this edition of Vishnu Ki Secret Life. Join us again next time, where I'll be going over intermittent fasting and a little bit more detail about the Paleolithic diet.